Welcome to That's Good Sports, the only sports show with the balls to power rank an entire league of teams, even though we haven't seen them play a single game, nor do we know very much about most of the players in the league. So today, I hope to help give you a better idea of who some of those players are and just maybe a little whiff of what the Rock cooks in the XFL. The XFL is broken up into two divisions, the North and the South. The northern teams include the DC Defenders, the Seattle Sea Dragons, St. Louis Battlehawks, and the Vegas Vipers. The South boasts the Arlington Renegades, the Houston Roughnecks, the Orlando Guardians, and the San Antonio Brahmas. Let's arbitrarily rank these teams for Week 1 of the 2023 XFL reboot of the reboot here on That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. If you don't, the XFL might not make it. Today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. SeatGeek has been downloaded over 28 million times. That's a lot, unless we're talking about the annual salary for a franchise QB. And just because a lot of people download something doesn't make it good, right? Well, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app, which is incredible when you have that many people using the app. Now, my wife Jess actually wants to sit courtside at a Nuggets game, so I'll be looking into that. No matter how much it costs me, I guess. And I may get my writing partner Will Keys out here for a Nuggets-Kings game in April, and SeatGeek is the only way I'm gonna get my tickets. Now, the green dots in the app let you know when a ticket is a good deal. Plus, every ticket is backed by SeatGeek's buyer guarantee, and it's the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. SeatGeek really has thought about all the small things. Oh wait, yeah, Blink-182 going back out on tour, so use my code ThatsGood. You'll get $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Look, I really am excited for the XFL to return, so let's hype it up. Number 8, the Seattle Dragons. We're gonna play the Defenders Sunday evening on ESPN. Fuck these guys, right? I need to hate a team, and the Seattle Swindlers, well, they feel right. Let's start with their quarterback, dinucci. No, I love dinucci. How about their other QB, Steven Montez? No, he was the last good Colorado Buffs QB. Shit, do I love the Dragons? I think I might. And dinucci might be the best quarterback in the league, if I'm totally honest. I think they have a pretty good back in Brendan Knox, who, like a dinucci, spent some time with the Cowboys, but the guy I think we'll all be watching is wide receiver Josh Gordon. Yes, that Josh Gordon, who for that one magical season in 2013 put up 1,646 yards and 9 TDs with Jason Campbell, Brandon Weeden, and Brian Hoyer throwing him the ball. Most of you know his career was derailed as he struggled with serious drug addictions. Gordon was on the Chiefs and the Titans roster, and how Tennessee didn't use him this last season with 0 receiving threats is beyond me. The Dragons are at 8 because, yes, I'm still mad about the Russell Wilson trade not working out. There, I said it. I hold on to grudges. Sue me. Number 7, I've got the Orlando Guardians, who will be playing the Houston Roughnecks Saturday evening on ESPN and FX. The Orlando Legal Guardians are coached by former NFL corner Terrell Buckley, who played 14 seasons in the league, won a Super Bowl in Green Bay, intercepted 50 passes, and somehow never made a Pro Bowl. Tragedy. I think he'll use that spite to put together a decent team in Orlando. Unfortunately, his QB is Paxton Lynch, whose main target is another Broncos draft disappointment, Cody Latimer, who last played in the NFL in 2019. If they can just find a way to track down Carlos Henderson, they'll have the holy trinity of terrible John Elway draft picks. That said, I am rooting for the resurrection of Lynch and of Latimer. Opposite Cody Latimer, the Guardians of the XFL Galaxy have receiver Eli Rogers, who caught 78 passes in the NFL with the Steelers from 2016 to 2018. You're going to notice half of the XFL is made up of former Steelers. Rodgers had 48 receptions in 2016 and 3 TDs. Head coach Terrell Buckley called linebacker Earl Thompson the team's thumper. Thompson is just 25 years old. He played a bit with the Falcons and in Canada, and maybe could end up on the Broncos roster this season, considering their linebackers get injured at the same rate that new spring football leagues form. Number 6, the Vegas Vipers. They're kicking off the season against the Renegades Saturday afternoon on ABC. Now, the Vipers have one of the most interesting rosters in the league, in my opinion. Head coach, former NFL Hall of Famer, is Rod Woodson. They have famed Hard Knocks, belly dancer, and offensive line coach Bob Wiley.
Set head! Set head! Set head! Set head! Do it again, my fault.
The most seasoned Spring League QB in Luis Perez, a guy who has literally played in all of them and had success each time. Brett Hundley is on the roster but hasn't learned the system yet as a late addition. Their running back is Rod Smith, no relation to the Broncos legend, but Rod has 6 NFL TDs to his name and spent time on several NFL rosters, getting the most playing time with the Cowboys. In 2015, he had 4 touchdowns on just 55 carries for the boys. The Vipers will deploy a couple receivers who had significant NFL stints in Martavis Bryant and Geronimo Allison of the Packers. Now, the Steelers drafted Martavis Bryant in the 4th round in 2014. Stop me if you've heard this before. A Steelers wide receiver with off-field issues goes to the Raiders only to be released before the season starts. That's exactly what happened with Bryant in 2018, but the Raiders did sign him back 10 days later. Bryant does have quite possibly the greatest catch in NFL history. There's also Vic Beasley on defense, who had 15.5 sacks during the Falcons Super Bowl run, and he may be the only top 10 draft pick in the league. Number 5, I've got the DC Defenders. You'll recognize a few names on the DC Defenders. Quarterback Jordan Ta'amu, who played well enough with the St. Louis Battlehawks in 2020 to get a shot with the Kansas City Chiefs. And running back Raquel Armstead, who caught a pair of touchdowns for the Jaguars in 2019 before missing out on the entire 2020 season after suffering from a really bad case of COVID. This is a huge shot at redemption for Armstead, and I'm rooting for him to make the most of it. He's got potential to get back to the NFL. At wide receiver, you might recognize Chad Hansen, who played a ton of snaps at the back half of the 2020 season for the Houston Texans, catching 17 balls for 236 yards and a pair of TDs from Deshaun Watson, who also needed a team of defenders to extend his NFL career. Now, don't be surprised if the Defenders are docked a 2024 draft pick after Greg Williams is caught for the first ever XFL Bountygate scandal. Yes, Greg Williams is the DC in DC. Just give me one photo of him in DC shoes reading DC Comics. Now, his favorite weapon may very well be edge rusher Davin Bellamy, who was the first star in the USFL last season, notching 3 sacks in his first game. Number 4, I've got the San Antonio Brahmas. They host the Battlehawks Sunday afternoon on ABC. San Antonio gets bumped up to the number 4 spot in the power rankings, almost solely based on their name. I've never seen the Brahmas used for anything, and I respect the hell out of making your mascot a very docile chicken. With the price of eggs these days, chickens are becoming sort of the most important birds we have. Now, Hines Ward is coaching San Antonio, so rest assured this team will throw the dirtiest blocks you've ever seen on a football field. They got another Steelers icon and Joey Porter on staff as the linebackers coach. At quarterback, they've got former Notre Dame QB Jack Cohn, former Eagle Reed Sinnett, and aptly named Jawan Pass.
Naming their starting quarterback today. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you'll like this one. Former Irish and Wisconsin Badger quarterback Jack Cohn getting the nod. Cohn was undrafted last season in the NFL, but played the preseason with the Indianapolis Colts.
There's really very few names I recognize on this roster, but one name I do know is running back Kalen Ballage. He had 4 years in the NFL, netted 665 yards, including a 75-yard TD run against the Vikings in 2018. Hines Ward is high on receiver Landon Akers, who looks exactly like Cooper Kupp's backup, which he actually was. Number 3, the St. Louis Battlehawks. It's a damn shame they didn't sign Jordan Te'amu back to be their QB. That would have been a very cool through line for the best fan base in the XFL. Battlehawks fans showed up in 2020, probably as a middle finger to Stan Kroenke, but they were wild. In the third iteration of this league, the Battlehawks will be rolling with A.J. McCarron, who may be one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the league. Now, here's a guy who was one Jeremy Hill fumble away from beating the Steelers in a playoff game 7 years ago. They also have former Falcons running back Brian Hill toting the rock, as well as Ricky Prohl's son, Austin, at wide receiver. If Austin is anything like his dad, he'll catch a huge touchdown before St. Louis loses on a game-winning field goal. Brock Purdy became the star underdog of the NFL this last season, and I'm hoping his Cyclones teammate Mike Rose can do the same from the linebacker position. He's a 6'4", 250-pound monster on the interior, but was cut by the Chiefs, who have one of the best and deepest group of linebackers in the NFL. Based on their assessment of players at the position, I feel like he will be on an NFL roster come August after he balls out. Number 2, I've got the Houston Roughnecks. I'm putting Houston all the way at 2, primarily on the fact that I think Wade Phillips is the best head coach in the league. He's the definition of a player's coach and has the Super Bowl jewelry to command the respect of every man on the team. The 3 QBs they have on roster are Caleb Ellaby, Cole McDonald, and AAF legend Hi-Ho Brandon Silvers. Now I'm hoping we see Caleb Ellaby start. If he goes out and plays really well all season and then lands on an NFL roster for the 2023 season, it will be a great example of the XFL working. Ellaby was linked to the Denver Broncos before they traded away everything for Russell Wilson, a QB prospect many thought Denver would target late in the draft, who could have competed to be a starter after some development. I want to see these types of fringe players shine in the XFL so they can get a shot back in the NFL. Now, the Roughnecks also have wide receiver Ben Putman out of Nevada, who looks like the least athletic player in XFL history. The kind of kid The Rock would use to warm up with for the bench press, which is why I think he will lead the team in receptions week 1. And number 1, I've got the Arlington Renegades. Now, I'm putting them here at 1 because I really like their QB situation. They lured USFL hero Kyle Sloter away from the other spring league, but also have Ball State quarterback Drew Plitt, who was on the Bengals practice squad, getting the start, I believe, this weekend. If Plitt already looks good enough to beat out the Slaughterhouse, then I have to believe this team is ready to deal. They also have Davion Smith in the backfield, who I think was the leading rusher in the last XFL. He averaged 4.1 yards per carry and had 365 rushing yards, 1 yard for every day of the year. However, he found the end zone 0 times on his 90 rushing attempts, something I still blame on Mark Trestman, head coach of the First Vipers. But they also got Keith Ford in the backfield, and I think Ford might be getting more carries to start week 1. Ford was a backup for the Bills in 2018, got 10 carries as a Battlehawk back in 2020. He's been named as one of the players to watch on the XFL website. So that's why I mentioned him here, Arlington also signed former NFL and Battlehawks safety Will Hill. Hill started 10 games for the Giants in 2013, which netted 2 picks, a defensive touchdown, and a forced fumble. Also, keep an eye on Jordan Smallwood, which was also my nickname in the high school locker room. Smallwood. Here's a former Sooner, though, who played with Bob Stoops as his head coach at Oklahoma. This reunion with Bob in Arlington could spark big things for the 6'2" running back. I think the Renegades will run the piss out of the football. All right, we're excited for the XFL reboot. Come back Monday, and we'll recap what happened over the weekend. Make sure you subscribe here to That's Good Sports. I do football videos, a lot of football videos, even though I dropped an NBA short yesterday, which you might want to check out.